Jay here from Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, we're in the studio. We are live. So get involved in all the chat and the comments. Got loads of stories to crack on with this morning. Obviously, Manchester United stories. What else are we going to be talking about? Good to see already the usual suspects are there. If you're not doing so already as well, please make sure you are hitting that subscribe button. Good to see BMW Racing 1974, Jacoya Trot, Rock, Wayne Davis, Santa Notch is here as well, Billy Simo, James Swinbanks, all good stuff, Mick Holohunt too. So there's a few stories doing around this morning. There's a Kobbie Mainoo story, which we'll get into, because it seems like this sort of reports, rumours, whatever you want to call them, of Kobbie Mainoo wanting out of Manchester United, at least temporarily, aren't going away. So you can see it in the Manchester Evening News. Kobbie Mainoo could still leave Manchester United in January transfer window after summer request. Kobbie Mainoo has become a frustrated figure at Manchester United and is prepared to leave the club in January in a bid to save his World Cup dream. This is by Jeremy Cross and Jack Flintham. Now, this is one of these stories. Jeremy Cross is like the guy that's on everything. So I think this is in the Mirror. It's been obviously in the Evening News. It's a story doing the rounds, but I think it all sort of comes from this original Jeremy Cross article. And what it's basically saying is that, look, Kobbie Mainoo has had a meeting with Ruben Amorim. He has been given reassurances. Obviously, he wanted to go on loan in the summer, but that didn't happen because the club, Ruben Amorim, whoever, was saying, look, you needed here. You are wanted. We are going to, use you. And it is true because, look, even though I would love to see Kobbie Mainoo have more minutes, he has been getting some minutes, not enough in my opinion, but he has been used, so I can understand why the club were reluctant to let him go. And also, it isn't just about the last few games. There's a whole season ahead of us. So we saw him play a half against Burnley. He came on in the Manchester derby, and he got a cameo against Chelsea as well. Now, according to this report, he's not really too happy with that in terms of how many minutes he's getting. He hasn't been getting a lot of minutes. And also, there has been injuries. We've had, I think, Cunha and Mount have been out. There was an issue, or there is, moving forward, this could help him. There's obviously Casemiro suspended, but there's been injuries which have kind of helped Kobbie Mainoo, but even with those injuries, he's still not getting loads of minutes, is he? So I can understand why you can look at it and go, okay, am I going to get much game time before the World Cup? I think that's what Kobbie Mainoo is sort of worried about. He's looking at, you see Adam Wharton, he's part of Thomas Tuchel's plans, Elliot Anderson as well. Elliot Anderson wasn't even in the conversation a couple of years ago. And Adam Wharton went to the Euros and sat on the bench while Kobbie Mainoo got into the team, played alongside Declan Rice and played all the way to the Euros final. So if he wants to play for England in the summer, he's probably looking at going, is this going to happen at Manchester United? We've also seen and heard the manager saying, look, Kobbie Mainoo and Bruno can play together, but ideally I see Kobbie Mainoo sort of deputising for Bruno Fernandes. So if you're the manager and if you're Kobbie Mainoo, you're thinking, okay, the manager sort of said that my main role in this squad seems to be deputising for Bruno Fernandes, who's the captain, who starts every game and plays almost every minute of every game. It was quite a rarity, wasn't it, on Saturday to see Bruno Fernandes subbed. And who was he subbed for? Kobbie Mainoo. So there does seem like there's some truth in that idea that Kobbie Mainoo is going to be sort of a stand-in or backup to Bruno Fernandes. However, depending on what happens with injuries, suspensions, there could still be a pathway to the first team, or he could just sort of play his way into the first team. I don't know. If I was Kobbie Mainoo, right, I would be slightly miffed. And maybe it was the red card for Casemiro that changed things. But I thought he did really well when he came on against Manchester City in the derby. I thought he was probably United's best player in that sort of cameo. One of United's best players anyway. Came on, kept hold of the ball, was direct, went past players. It was a real positive appearance from Kobbie Mainoo. And then the next game you get, a few minutes at the end? After everyone else has come on, like all these subs have been made. I think you Ugarte, Mount, and then you're the sort of, the Cunha I think came on as well, Lenny Yoro, and you're like the final sub in the dying minutes. So I can understand why he is frustrated, but I just hope he stays, fights for his place, and gets into the team. I want to see Kobbie Mainoo in this Manchester United team. It's just a little bit difficult with this Ruben Amorim system, which sort of has two midfielders. One of them is always going to be Bruno Fernandes, because it seems as though he doesn't want to use Bruno Fernandes as a 10, he wants to use him as a 6. The other one, can it be Kobbie Mainoo? I'd like to see him be given a chance. Maybe he gets a chance against Brentford with Casemiro injured. I wouldn't be holding my breath, though. I think it's going to be Manuel Ugarte. Let me know what you think. Steve M says, Bruno has made a couple of mistakes in midfield, but he's still needing to get everything together, and he's the one giving the players their instruction in how to play their position. Bolaj Key says, Jesus, a long season yet to go. He will play eventually. He might do, though, but he might not. If he's looking at you going, look, what are we in now? Is it 5 games in? We've got 33 more league games. Yeah, he might play, but he might not, and he might not end up going to the World Cup. So I sort of see his point of view in wanting to go to the World Cup, especially as what the article's saying. It's another, he wants a loan move. He wants to go in January for the rest of the season and obviously come back in the summer. However, if I'm Manchester United, even if Kobbie Mainoo is only going to get used sparingly, you're probably thinking, well, why would we let him go if we're going to need him? I remember when David Beckham, many, many years ago, went on loan to Preston North End, and we had a few injuries, and Sir Alex Ferguson recalled him. And it wasn't like David Beckham, this was before he sort of burst onto the scene and was a mainstay of the Manchester United team. He wasn't used a lot. It was just like, he was more or less backup, but he was brought back. Obviously, it's different, because at the time, David Beckham didn't have aspirations of playing for England that summer. But Fergie was like, look, I don't care what's going on alone. I need him here because he could be getting used. So maybe that'll be the attitude of Manchester United and Ruben Amorim. Brian Casey says, I think if Mainoo's patient, he'll get his chance. He will eventually replace Bruno when we probably sell him in January or next summer. Tyler Wood says, morning, Jay. Steve M says, I'm not alone against a loan move for him if we don't have injuries. Again, you can take stock in January. If you get to January, right, and Kobbie Mainoo had started one Premier League game or no Premier League games and has only been getting cameos and sometimes not even that. Because let's not forget, for quite a few games, he didn't even get off the bench. So he might look at it, the club might look at it, and he might look at it and go, come on, like, you're not using me. It's pointless me being here. I can go away. And also, you don't want it to become counterproductive. I don't want Kobbie Mainoo to have a season where he barely plays, because he's a player that's obviously very talented. He's a player that's played 30-odd games in his first season, 30-odd games in his second season. You don't want his third season when he's turned 20 for him to be playing like 16 games or whatever. He needs to keep developing, he needs to keep playing to move forward with his career. So it could be beneficial long-term from Kobbie Mainoo, actually, for Manchester United. If he did go out on loan, we'll have to wait and see what happens. Let me know what you think. Get involved in the chat and make sure you hit that like button. Akash K says, Kobbie is also part of a generation where they want the rewards right here, right now, i.e. minutes plus. Whitwell mentioned contract talks have stalled too. Perhaps this is more political than foot. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with he's part of this generation where they want the rewards right here, right now. I think it's nothing wrong with wanting to play football and wanting to get in the England squad when you were a regular in the last England tournament. I think that's quite reasonable. There's also been a lot of reports that actually United and Kobbie Mainoo had more or less agreed on a deal, but the deal just hasn't materialised in front of him. Like, his agent or him's not been sent the deal. So depends on how you look at it there, to be honest with you. I'm not quite sure this is a generational issue for people like Kobbie Mainoo. You may disagree. Let me know what you think. Locker room chat says, would a January move be enough time for him to get into the World Cup squad? I think it could be. I do. Let's not forget, he made his debut in November and made the Euros squad. And we already know about Kobbie Mainoo. That was an unknown Kobbie Mainoo. So if he gets a move in January, does really well for 4 months, 5 months, then he can sort of remind everyone what he's about, and he might get a chance under Tuchel, and he has to take that chance. He might not, but he might do. So I certainly think you have to look at it in January. It's so difficult right now to know what is going on, to know how that's going to look, because there could be injuries. He could force his way into the team. We don't know. In January, you might look at it and go, look, Kobbie Mainoo's been playing every week. Let's not forget, when he got injured, people thought, well, he's got injured when he first sort of played in pre-season. He's got injured, but it's not that deep because he's not really going to feature this season. He came back from his injury, and then before you knew it, it was like starting every single game. Then he went to the Euros, and everyone's like, well, he's not going to play in the Euros. It's going to be Trent Alexander-Arnold against Declan Rice. Then Trent Alexander-Arnold didn't quite work out. He gets dropped. Then it's Conor Gallagher. So Kobbie Mainoo's like 3 games in. He's not played yet. I think he might have had 1 substitute appearance for England in that tournament. And you're thinking, okay, he's not really in Gareth Southgate's plans. Then he gets a chance and he starts every game right up until the final from there. So you just don't know how football's going to pan out. And I think you can look at it, and we will look at it in January. I just hope between now and January he gets some opportunities, and when he gets them, I hope he takes them. Let's talk about this article in the New York Times, or The Athletic, same thing. This is from Mark Critchley. This is what we're talking about on the thumbnail. So Mark Critchley has been on the channel quite a few times, right for The Athletic, top bloke, says, investigating Manchester United's data. What's good, what's bad, what's too early to say? So it speaks about this meeting that Sir Jim Ratcliffe had with Ruben Amorim to discuss Manchester United's rather mixed bag of results to start the new season. Amorim spoke about it, and he said it was just to show support, explaining that it's a long project. I spoke with him, Omar Brada and Jason Wilcox, trying to see all the data around the team. A normal meeting. We've had several, but in this moment, it's normal for people to pay attention to that. He also made a little joke, didn't he, about he was offered a new contract Depends how you took that. Some people took that, look at him, Ruben Amorim there, he's still got his sense of humour. Others were like, why is he making jokes when United are struggling? But I don't think he's that deep, to be honest with you. We're talking about the data. Mark Critchley's looking at data and what does it show us? Because this is a hot debate at the minute amongst United fans. A lot of United fans are going, okay, are we as bad as some people are making out? Because some people are going, look, this United team under Ruben Amorim, both last season and this season, is a disaster. He's not the guy. Like, we're going nowhere. Others are going, well, hang on a minute. Last season, all right, that was terrible. Let's move on from it. This season, it's not that bad. We've played 5, we've won 2, we've lost 2, and we've drawn 1. We've also played Arsenal and City, who were the 2 of the top 3 last season. Plus, you've played Chelsea, who were, 4th last season, was it? So you've played some good teams. Yes, you've played Burnley and Fulham, who aren't exactly tearing up trees. But it's very difficult to say this is definitive as to how Manchester United are doing just from the table and the results. Because even like the Chelsea game, which is a good result, beating Chelsea, who I expect to be there or thereabouts in the Champions League spots, is a good result. But then again, it's tempered, innit? Because you go, well, for a big chunk of that game, they had 10 men and we had 11, plus the conditions were terrible. Then we went out of 10 men. It's all a bit weird. What do you gain from that? Or what can you sort of learn from that performance and from that match? It's all a bit up in the air. I think that's the best way to describe it in a minute. And then, before anyone gets involved in the chat and reminds me, there was the Grimsby game. Yes, we're talking about the Premier League, but you've also got the fact that we were already knocked out of a cup competition, which doesn't do anyone any favours, does it? That doesn't help anyone's cause, really. So Mark goes into the sort of data, and he mentions here that Amorim has referenced the data several times. We are playing well until we reach the boxes. We need to be more clinical. He said last Friday, if you see the number of shots, the XG, all these things are good. And Mark Critchley sort of quantifies that. Qualifies it. He goes, he is right. The early attacking metrics have been eye-catching. No other Premier League side can match United's 15.8 shots and 1.9 expected goals per game. That league-leading XG figure has been inflated by 2 penalties. Bruno Fernandes missing the first one against Fulham, scoring the second against Burnley. Only Brighton and Hove Albion have been awarded more than United in the opening 5 games. Amazing how you can get penalties when Jurgen Klopp's not about. But United's non-penalty XG is also strong, the second highest behind Manchester City. Other data points, including passes into and touches inside the penalty area, are trending in the right direction too. Defensively, 46 shots conceded is the 5th best record in the league. The days of allowing Brentford to have 31 attempts at goal, as Eric Ten Hag's what United once did, appear long gone until this Saturday at least. This is all despite Ruben Amorim facing the most difficult 5-game start of any Premier League manager, according to Opta's fixture difficulty calculator, if I can get my words out. So United have had a difficult start in terms of who we've played. We've played 3 of the top 4 from last season in our opening 5 games. That is a difficult start. That is actually statistically the most difficult start any team in the Premier League has had this season. I get it. So he's gone into the sort of the XG and the stats here. Is United's attack improving? And according to the stats, you'd say, yeah, it looks like it is. So last season, our rank for shots was 6th. This season, it's 1st. XG was 12th last season. This season, it's 1st. Non-penalty XG last season was 12th. This season, it's 2nd. Passes into the final third. Last season, it was 10th. This season, it's 6th. Passes into the penalty area. Last season, it was 10th. This season, it's 2nd. Touches in the penalty area. This season, it's 4th. Last season, it's 10th. So we are moving in the right direction. And those 5 games haven't been easy. You can't just go, well, we've just played dross. So there is some sort of green shoots there. You can look at it and go, okay, the stats back up the idea that United are better this season than we were last season. I think that's fair to say. And also, the quality of opposition is such that you can say, well, you can take something from this. Now, I get all this, and I think you can argue the case for United improving. However, there is a sort of counter-argument, if you will. And this is some of the less impressive data that Matt references here in his piece. So shot conversion percent is 4%. Last season, we were 19th in the league in terms of shot conversion. This season, we're still 19th. XG over underperformance were minus 1.1 on our XG performance. That's the lowest in the league. Last season, we were 19th. Non-penalty XG conceded, 16th in the league this season. Last season, we were 12th. Non-penalty XG per shot conceded, 20th in the league last season with 10th. So, and Mark explains it here in case you didn't get all that. As Amarim mentioned, United's finishing has been poor, shot conversion and XG underperformance have seen no improvement from last season, although the hope would be that stabilises as the sample size grow. And although United have done well to limit their opponent's number of shots, the average XG of those attempts has been 0.16, the highest in the league at this early stage. United may have not given up a lot of chances, but when they have often given up good ones, contributing to Amarim's side having conceded a total of 7.3 XG, the sixth worst record. So you get it. It's so difficult though because it's such a small sample size with 5 games. Yes, you can get something from it, but you need a bit of a bigger one to really get a strong picture, because he goes on to say a considerable chunk of that figure is made up by the very first shot United conceded this season, Ricardo Calafori's decisive 30-minute header in the 1-0 defeat against Arsenal, turning on the line after Ali Bayindir's failure to claim a corner. It had an XG of 0.91. So, there's more into it. I don't want to go through the entire article. The one thing that I like here is what he says. He says, maybe Amarim has realised you cannot lose possession in your own third if you do not have possession in your own third. From having the most touches that deep in their own territory last year, United currently have the third fewest. So we're not just keeping all the ball, we're not loads of the ball in our own third. This is supported by the eye test. United appear to be spending less time trying and often struggling to build up attacks from deep, and are instead playing more directly into or through midfield, supplying a faster, more physical forward line. So instead of having the ball loads in our own third and sort of taking our time, we are being more direct. And I like the eye test. I can do the eye test. I'm not into one who's mad on stats, but you can watch football and go, okay, we look like we're getting the ball forward a lot quicker. And I've noticed that myself. You can't fail to notice it. So the conclusion of all this, what is certain after last week's meeting is that Ratcliffe and other senior Old Trafford figures are clearly keeping one eye on the numbers. As we approach the stage of the season where signal begins to emerge through the noise, Amarim's task must be to sustain United's more positive data points, then translate them into consistent results. So you've got to tap into what you're doing right and make sure that translates into points. Yeah, I get all that. And I think so far this season, it's been, in the Premier League at least, okay. Yeah? Again, Carabao Cup was a disgrace. In the Premier League, losing to City is not good. Losing to Arsenal isn't good. I'm not going to pretend it is. Drawing at Fulham, whoop-de-doo. But you expect to beat Burnley at home. Chelsea is a tricky one, but we've got to win there regardless of how that panned out. So I think you can sort of say, all right, this is okay so far, in my opinion, in terms of rules, but it needs to be better. It's not great. I'm not going to pretend it is. And it's a bit disappointing we haven't got like a surprise result there, like, we beat Arsenal or whatever. It's just been, you'd probably expect us not to get a result against Arsenal. We didn't. Probably expect us not to go to the 8 and get anything. We didn't. That's disappointing. Let me know what you think. Get involved in the chat in the comments. Do you agree? Do you think, Jay, you're talking rubbish? It's terrible, or you think it's fantastic? Santa Notch says, we used to start badly many times under Fergie. We did. So we get that. I remember seasons where I think in 2008, I don't think the start was that great. And you saw what happened in that season. So it can happen. The only difference now is that there's a lot of pressure on Ruben Amorim, a lot of question marks around him, and also that Carabao Cup loss, has added to it. Ayush Varma says, the data sample size is too small to be overly optimistic, but yeah, there are some positive signs. There are some positive signs, and I think you can sort of look at that and do what Mark said, is that you've got to convert those positive signs into positive results, and then we'll all be okay. Andrea says, just play 4-4-2. I long for the day. 4-4-2. The 93-94 season, that United team was my favourite team ever. And that was 4-4-2, but it's gone away the dodo, hasn't it? 4-4-2. We signed someone. You didn't expect me to say that, did you? Ben Jacobs there has been on the channel, says Manchester United have agreed a deal to sign Colombia under-17 international Cristian Orozco when he turns 18. The defensive midfielder caps in Colombia as they reach the final of the under-17 South America Championships last spring. We were talking about this a few months ago, weren't we, when we brought in Diego Leon. United looking at the South American market a little bit more than perhaps we have done in the past. signing this youngster. Don't know loads about him. I'm not going to do some ham-fisted, sort of half-hearted scouting report now. We'll have a look at him a bit more in-depthly later on in the week or maybe next week. But it does sort of indicate this is a trait that United are pursuing. Looking at South America, can we get some youngsters there? Maybe getting in some of these youngsters that in the past we would have waited till Orozco or Leon had gone to another European club, spent a couple of seasons there, and then maybe put a bid in for them. Now we're going straight to them when they're young, trying to bring them in early. Nothing wrong with that. I get it. We'll talk about the data and everything earlier and United's results. The big question that still hasn't been settled is the goalkeeper. Simon Stone, who's writes for the BBC, he's been looking at Senne Lammens, sort of talking about what's going on with him. He's not the only one who's doing this, by the way. I've seen a few people, fans, pundits, reporters, discussing about Lammens. Is he going to get a chance? Is he coming in as number 2? Is he going straight into the team? And you can see there, he says, Senne Lammens, will he, won't he move to Manchester United, was one of the more intriguing deals of transfer deadline day. Lammens has been identified as a goalkeeper of interest by United early in the window, and although their interest intensified in the final week, it was not until deadline day itself the Premier League club made their move. Now, 3 weeks on, we are still waiting to see Lammens play a game. No one knows whether head coach Ruben Amorim will give him his Premier League debut at Brentford on Saturday in the home game against Sunderland on the 4th of October, or make him wait even longer. I don't know, that Sunderland game stinks if you're going to give him a debut. That would be the one, wouldn't it? At home, against the team you'd expect to be, famous last words as a United fan, that would be the one rather than Brentford away. I don't know. We'll find out more when the manager speaks to the press tomorrow. But I think that makes the most sense to me. Because I think that if you are going to do that, if you are going to give him a debut, you want to try and make it as sort of easy as possible. I don't know. Let me know what you think. It's weird how how you worded that, Simon. I get it. 3 weeks later, he's still waiting for his debut. Well, one of those games was City away, so I don't think you're gonna be like, yeah, throw him in at City away. I know a lot of people thought he would. I didn't think he would. I remember thinking Bayern Day might get the nod. I think I thought that. I don't know. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure that's what I said. Then you've got the Chelsea game at home and you're looking at it, you go, could that be the one? But again, Chelsea are a tough team. Is that ideal? Does he need a little bit more time just to get used to being at United, all the rest of it? Bayern Day, I think, still some question marks there. I get it. But I don't think he's a complete disaster. I mean, that's hardly a ringing endorsement, isn't it? Talk about damning with faint praise. But I feel like he's maybe just getting slightly more reliable. Can I say that? Am I talking nonsense? Let me know what you think. I think his distribution's been better, let's say that. So maybe the manager's looking at it going, look, I can still go with Bayern Day for now. We still aren't 100% sure whether the manager sees Bayern Day as his number 1 with Lammens as backup or the other way around. We might not be sure this weekend as well, so not never. We might have to wait a little while longer, but it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I don't know a lot about Lammens. I like the way he carries himself. I like the interview he gave. You can see the numbers, the stats, all back up the idea that he's one of the sort of most he's one of the most sought after young keepers in Europe. Manchester United is such a difficult club to come to as a goalkeeper. I think Gary Neville said it's the hardest job in football being Manchester United goalkeeper. I don't think he's wrong. I remember sort of post Peter Schmeichel, pre Edwin van der Sar, some of the goalkeepers we went through, and you saw good goalkeepers. Fabian Barthez was like a World Cup winning goalkeeper who everyone lauded, and he struggled. I know he won a title, but he was all over the gaff for some games. Mark Bosnich had been at United, gone to Villa, done really well, comes back to United, and I think he had one season. And then you get players like Massimo Tahibi and people like that. So it's not an easy job to do. We'll have to wait and see if Lammens is up to it. Brian Casey says, Lammens seems like a decent glovesman. And finally, you can file this under, of all the things that isn't going to happen, this isn't going to happen the most. Man United handed dream Harry Kane transfer scenario as move timeline emerges. So the dream Harry Kane transfer scenario is we go back in time to 2023 or even 2016 or something and we sign him. However, that didn't happen. Are we going to go out and buy Harry Kane when we've just bought Benjamin Sesko? No. Are we heck? Also, despite the fact he is one of the best strikers on the planet, what is he now, 31 or something? Are United going to go out and spend loads of money on a 30-odd-year-old striker when we've been told that is no longer the policy at Manchester United, having done it with the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo, with the likes of Edinson Cavani, with the likes of Odion Ighalo in the past? No, we're not. So this isn't going to happen. Also, he could leave for under 57 million. Right, okay. Let's just say he leaves for just under that. For a player of that calibre, yeah, I get it. It's a bit of a bargain if you can call 50-odd million quid a bargain. But still a decent amount of money. You're not getting him on a free. And where does that leave Sesko? If you bring in Harry Kane, you're bringing Harry Kane to start for Manchester United. There's no two ways about it. So unless you are going 4-4-2 and playing two strikers, which you're not, Benjamin Sesko isn't going to get a move. And look at that. Under 57 million, then the devil's in the detail. He could be available for 56.8 million. So when you said under 57 million, that's like some used car salesman. Under 57 million, you know. Oh, really? Oh, right, that's great. Yeah, it's 56.8. What? So, not happening at all. We should have gone for Harry Kane when we got Rasmus Højlund. That's not hating on Rasmus Højlund. It's just if Harry Kane is slightly gettable, you go out, you get him, because that would have changed the whole complexion of the Manchester United team for me. And you would have had a goal scorer that almost guarantees you a goal every game. And plus, it would have maybe encouraged some of the other players around him to pass to him, because it's Harry Kane that's waiting in the box for a cross or whatever, rather than an unproven youngster. So it would have been good to get him. We didn't. We ain't getting him. It's not going to happen, regardless of what the Daily Star say. Stephanie Griffey says 23 away from 100 likes. Dave Allen says it's in the Daily Star. It's not even worth talking about, Jay. It is, to ridicule it. It's what we like to do sometimes. We like to have a story at the end where we can just lay into it. Giggity says Barthez was mental, lol. He was. Do you remember the Di Canio goal? He was appealing for, I think he's still appealing for offside now, Fabian Barthez. If you go and see him, he's still got his hand up like that. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to be back later on with Off the Bar. That's going to be me, Joe, Maka, and Howson. So make sure, if you're not doing so already, you are hitting like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget as well to check out the Paddock merchandise. Can we put a little link in the chat if we haven't got one already? You've probably seen us all wearing it. You've probably seen it on our socials. We've got a new line in Stretford Paddock merchandise. There's a link to the store there, so go and check that out. I've been Jay Motti. This has been The Paper Talk. Thanks for watching.